such a strong compound, they actually use it in perfume. But it's a naturally occurring compound. It gives it that fragrant, floral, almost buttery note. Another thing that's really interesting about jasmine rice is it is much softer and can be stickier than basmati rice. And that's because of the ratio of the two starches. There's amylopectin and amylose in all kinds of rices. And the amylose has a really hard time absorbing the water. And so the more amylose that's in the rice, the firmer the rice is when it cooks up because it hasn't absorbed the water. There's very little amylose in jasmine rice. So the main difference between basmati and jasmine is that it's a bit softer and stickier. In the 6 brands that we tasted, some of them were almost too soft. There was one product that we thought was totally unacceptable and one that was borderline.
What is this? This is like, you like to throw ringers in, but this is like a different color and different taste. It's just weird. It's almost like converted rice or something.
I will tell you what it is in good time.
like after I get it wrong. That's right. That was the winner. I don't know what that is. That's weird. It's a weird color. It's just weird. This was a little mushier. I thought this had more singular grains. It was more toothsome, a term you like to use.
Okay.
I would pick this one. This was a little soft for me. But then this one is, I don't know what that is.
Well, why don't we start with the one.
What was it?
So this was the only one we didn't recommend. This is ready rice. You microwave it. It's got oil in it. It's got some other preservatives. And if you really want to appreciate the flavor and the unique texture of jasmine rice, that is not the product to buy.
We love you, Uncle Ben, but not this time. So this is my next choice.
This was the actual winner. This is the jasmine rice from Dynasty, and we felt like this had the best texture, despite what you think.
It was mushier. All right. I like this one.
Had a nice floral flavor.
Yeah, it was good. This one I thought was more separate grains.
Well, you chose the most expensive one.
Oh, yes. Well, then I'm right.
This is the heirloom organic product from Cambodia. It was a little mushy and not worth twice the price.
So for those of us who are to the manner born, I guess you could buy the very expensive imported Cambodian rice, but the winner in this tasting was, in fact, the Dynasty brand jasmine rice. You know, some TV jingles I can't get out of my mind 40 years later, like, my bologna has a first name. Its name is OSCAR. Double your pleasure, double your fun, or Rice-A-Roni, the San Francisco treat. Now, it turns out the Rice-A-Roni is a real thing. A woman named Luis de Domenico learned the recipe for rice and pasta pilaf from her Armenian landlady. Her husband, Tom, had a pasta factory, and the rest is history. So let's go into the test kitchen with Julia and make a homemade version of a great Armenian dish called rice and pasta pilaf. You know, there's fame and there's fame. You know, Paul Newman was famous. And we have a certain fame. But let me read you a letter that sort of describes what kind of fame we have. My second grader loves America's Test Kitchen. During the weeks before Thanksgiving, her class had a project: disguise a turkey so it wouldn't be eaten. Lo and behold, she shows Christopher Kimball as the turkey's disguise. So I was supposed to say things like, I'm not a turkey, can't you see? Do I look like a turkey? I'm Christopher Kimball. That's the kind of fame we have around here. So speaking of turkeys, Rice-A-Roni, the stuff in the box.
Yep.
We actually tasted it as part of the development process for this pilaf we're about to do.
Right.
It's kind of a turkey.
Yeah, it is kind of a turkey because the box version really is a masked version of what it really could be, which is when you make it from scratch using fresh vermicelli and fresh rice. And that's because of all those dried seasonings in the box, they don't taste so good. So making it from scratch tastes much better. And the problem is that these two ingredients, the vermicelli and the rice, cook at different rates, but they both need a good amount of liquid to cook through. So what happens is the vermicelli cooks first, it absorbs all the liquid so that the longer cooking rice doesn't have enough liquid to cook through. So Rice-A-Roni figured out this problem by par-cooking the rice before they put it in the box. We're going to do something similar here, but what we're going to do is soak the rice in hot water and then cook the rice and vermicelli together. So I'm just going to turn the hot water on. It's just hot tap water. We're just going to fill up the bowl and let this rice soak for about 15 minutes before we start cooking. All right, so this rice has been soaking for 15 minutes, and now I'm going to carefully pour off the water. And you can see all that rice starch going right down the drain. And now I'm going to continue to rinse the rice using cold water just to really help get all that extra rice starch out of the way, because that rice starch will make the final pilaf really clumpy. And in fact, we do this rinsing step often when we make just regular rice pilaf. All right, so now I'm just going to drain off all the liquid. There we go. Now I'm going to set this aside and let it finish draining while we get the rest of the pilaf started. And so if you could turn that pot on to medium heat, please. I'm going to put 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. All right, so that butter is nice and melted. We're going to add the vermicelli, and this is 2 ounces of vermicelli that we broke into 1-inch pieces. If you could just cook it until they're nice and toasted, which takes about 3 minutes. So while we're toasting the vermicelli, I'm going to quickly prep an onion, and we're just going to grate it on the large holes of a box grater, which makes nice, fine, small pieces that melt really well into the pilaf so you don't notice their texture. And there we go. Nice job. Well done, sir. You can see the vermicelli. They're nice and evenly golden, well toasted, and it smells nutty as well. So now we're going to add the onion.
Okay.
And 1 clove of garlic. Just going to cook the onion and garlic until they're nice and softened. And again, we're going to keep the heat over medium, and that'll take about 4 minutes. So that onion is nicely softened. And now we're going to add the soaked and rinsed rice. If you want to stir that around, get the rice nicely coated with some of that butter that's still in there. So we've been sauteing this rice, and it's well coated with fat for about 3 minutes. And now we're ready to add the broth. This is 2½ cups of chicken broth. And now we're also going to add a little bit of table salt. This is 1 1/4 teaspoons of table salt. You just want to stir it all around, make sure there's no rice or vermicelli stuck to the bottom of the pot. And then as soon as it comes to a boil, we're going to turn the heat down to low, put the lid on, and cook it for about 10 minutes until all that liquid has been absorbed.
So just like you cook regular rice.
That's right. All right, so this has been cooking for about 10 minutes, and you can see the dry pot all the way in the bottom, which means the liquid is absorbed. So I'm going to turn off the heat, and this is a great trick for making pilaf. You take a kitchen towel, you drape it over the lid of the pot.
And you make sure the burners are off first.
Yes, absolutely.
Because
And we're going to slide it over to a cold burner, and we're just going to let it sit like this for about 10 minutes. And while it sits here, it's going to finish cooking. But what the towel does is it prevents any condensation from dripping back down on the rice, which will make it clumpy. All right, so this pilaf has been sitting off heat. Oh, doesn't that smell good?
It does smell good.
So I'm just going to go in there with a fork and gently fluff it up, make sure it's all nicely mixed together. I'm going to add a little bit of parsley. This is 3 tablespoons chopped parsley. We're just going to gently mix this in with a fork. Oh, this smells delicious. And that's
Looks
it.
like you did a very good job.
Thank you.
But we have to taste it.
Happily.
I have to say, the idea of making homemade rice-a-roni seemed like an odd project for us, but this is delicious.
The flavor of the basmati with the toasted flavor of the vermicelli. Such a good combo.
So I guess the secret to homemade rice-a-roni, or rice and pasta pilaf, is to start with the rice, soak it for a while in water, then rinse it. We toasted the vermicelli, combined everything with the chicken broth in a pot, cooked it for about 10 minutes, then off the heat with a kitchen towel on top to absorb that water so it can go back down in. And there you have it, from America's Test Kitchen to your kitchen, a totally revised version of rice-a-roni, otherwise known as rice and pasta pilaf. You can get this recipe, all the recipes from the season. You can get our equipment ratings, our taste tests, and also watch select episodes from the show, all at our website, which is, of course, americastestkitchen.com.